Hello and welcome back. In this tutorial we are going to implement the drag and drop behavior. So in order to do that I need to explain to you several stuff. And look with me at this little drawing that I've done. In order to make drag and drop possible, we need to follow 4 guidelines. Now, there are more, but this is the 4 basic guidelines. The first one, we need to add attribute draggable equals to true on the dragged element. This is something that we have already done. The second thing we need to do is to add an event called onDragStart. So we have the element over here that we are going to add. So again, this element should be draggable true, and we need to add an event listener called onDragStart. Now there are 2 things that we need to do on the dropping element, and the things that we need to do is to add onDragOver. It means that when I'm taking this element and I'm hovering over the element I want to drop, we need to take care on this part and the drop function itself. So those are the 4 things we need to do, 2 on the drag element and 2 on the drop element. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement them. Let's add this element, and if I'm going to inspect it, I can already see on this element the first step, which is the draggable set to true. Now we have already done this in the left panel controller right here, if you remember. But we need to add one more thing. We need to take the element add event listener. Now add event listener will get a string that is the name of the event on drag start. So we are going to take the on off and just type drag start and a function. So on drag start, this is going to be the function we're going to invoke. So let's create this function. Let's create it on the top. Function on drag start. Now, as a parameter, we are going to get an event. So let's call it event. Now, what we want to do, this event object is going to be a global object that is going to pass some data between all the drag methods. So as you can see, if I'm just going to copy and paste this line, I'm going to show you drag. All those dragging events are going to share the same event object. It means that if I'm putting a data into the event object property called data transfer, then I will be able to get this data on the drop as well. Okay? To do this, we are going to take the event data transfer and we're going to set data. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a text, and it's going to be the element, which is the event.target ID, which is already exists. Okay, and let's console log it. And let's check it out. And when I start to drag, I see an error. Let's see why. Instead of set data, I use the set, which is wrong. So let's go back and set data. Refresh the page. Let's drag it. And I can see the ID pops up right here. So we have a data that is being transferred. So 2 parts of these instructions are done. We have set the draggable to true and the onDragStart event. So let's now work on the drop element, which is those 4 panes. So let's take care on this area. Let's go ahead and open a new JavaScript folder. We will call it pane controller. The pane controller will be exactly as this pattern. We will change it to pane area. Let's delete all this. And currently I don't want to expose anything. What I do want is to create 4 panes. Excellent. Now let's add an event listener to each one of the panes. On drag over, and everyone is going to get the same function, which is on drag over. So we can copy this, paste it. Now let's create this function. Now what we want to do, we want to prevent default. You may ask yourself, what is a prevent default? And I'm going to show you. But before I'm going to show you, let us add this folder into the index drop files. Let's put something inside. We are dragging and we are dragging over, as you can see in this area. Now, as you look at the cursor, you see the cursor is looking like I cannot do anything with the element. That is because the browser is actually blocking us from dropping this element into this pane. The reason it's doing it, it's because this is the default behavior and we want to cancel it. We want to prevent this behavior. So what we are going to do, we are going to set the event prevent default. We don't want the default behavior of the browser, rather our behavior. So it's not going to block the cursor anymore. Let's check it out. And as you can see, when I'm going and hovering, look at the cursor of the mouse. It's actually letting me drop the element right now. So let's take care on the drop mechanism. And we will need to copy all of those things. And instead of drag over, we want to write on drop. And you remember that we set some data over here. So now it's time to fetch the data. Instead of set data, get data. And this is going to be the element ID. That we have just dragged, right? And let's console log it. So of course we need to say what data we want, the text data that we have transferred. Let's check it out. And as you can see, when I'm started drag, I console logging the ID, and when I'm dropping, I'm also showing the same ID. It means that we are dropping the same element. Let's check it on the other pane. For some reason, the last one is not working. Okay, the reason it's not working is because for some reason I'm not taking the right element. I'm taking the wrong element. So this is something that we will need to check, that I'm taking the correct element. When we are going to the left panel, we want to make sure that the event target has an ID. So if it doesn't have the ID, let's choose the target that do have ID. And it's usually its children. Let's check it out. So actually, we need to take the parent element. So we just fixed this behavior, and now it should work as expected. Let's see. Right now we have ID, always great. As you can see, we always have the ID. So I think that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'm going to actually give the drop mechanism. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.